Welcome to my channel guys. Today I am showing you some chess traps which you can play against beginners to deliver a checkmate. So let's start. This chess trap is for the black. More than 3 lakh people are fallen for this chess trap. Let me show how it works. When your opponent starts the game with pawn to f4, you will reply with the common move by pushing the pawn to e5. When your opponent captures your free pawn, you will give him a yet another pawn. Once he captures your pawn, you will recapture the pawn with your bishop. And then if your opponent tries some natural development like pushing the pawn or bringing the knight out, you will simply give a check by bringing the queen to h4. Then your opponent must block the check with the pawn. Now you will shock your opponent by sacrificing your queen. Now your opponent has only one move to take the queen, and then you will shock the opponent by bringing the bishop and giving a checkmate to your opponent. With this chess trap, you can crush your opponent in the opening itself. Let me show how it works. You will start the game with pawn to e5. Your opponent will respond with the d5. This is known as Scandinavian defense. You will go for it. And now the queen recaptures. You will attack his queen by your knight. Now the queen must go back and you will control the center by pushing your pawn. Now he will try to attack your pawn by his knight. Now you should defend your pawn by your knight. Now he pins your knight with his bishop. Once he pins your knight, you will simply push the pawn. Now here is very tempting to play knight to d6. Now it is a double attack on our knight. You will simply take the knight and shock your opponent by sacrificing your queen. Once he takes our queen by his bishop, you will give a check by bishop to b5. Now he must block the check and you will simply capture his pawn, and after all exchanges, his king is completely trapped and he has to block with the queen. Once you captures his queen, now the king must save him from the check. Now you will bring back the bishop, and now this position is completely winning for you, and as you are a piece up and the opponent is also losing and another piece. This chess trap is known as scholar's mate. You will start the game with pawn to e4. The opponent replies with the common move to e5. Then you will simply bring out your bishop to c4. And then if your opponent tries some natural development like pushing the pawn or bringing the knight out, in this case we suppose he bring out the knight to c6, then you will simply bring your queen to f3, and in this case he bring out his queen, then we will simply take on the pawn on f9, and then we can take on the bishop and deliver a checkmate. But if he pushes any pawn, then it is simply a checkmate by bringing the queen to f9. But in this case, he has bring out the queen to d8. Then we simply capture his pawn and then capture his bishop and delivering a checkmate to the king. This chess trap is for the black. More than 2 lakh people are fallen for this chess trap. Let me show how it works. Your opponent will start the game with pawn to d4. You will reply with pawn to e5. Once he takes your free pawn, you will simply bring out your bishop to c5. And then if he tries some natural development like bringing out the knight, bishop or pushing the pawn, in this case we suppose he bring out the knight, then we should simply give him a yet another pawn. Once he captures our pawn by his pawn, Then we will shock our opponent by giving him a free knight. Once he take our free knight, then we will give a check with our bishop to his king by bringing the bishop to f2. Then his king has only one move to take the bishop. Once he takes the bishop, you will take your opponent queen, and this position is completely winning for you.